Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Archive Undying by Emma Michael Candon. This is a sci-fi fantasy from Tor that's coming out at the end of the month on June 27th, 2023. As such, I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review, and there are no spoilers in this review. So, while I had really high hopes for this novel and I was so excited to receive an arc, the at arm's length characters and too confusing plot left me a little less than satisfied with the Archive Undying, and I feel bad about that, I guess. What is it about? When an AI dies, its city dies with it. When a city falls, it leaves a corpse behind. When that corpse runs off, only devotion can bring it back. When the robotic god of Kunan Mo went mad, it destroyed everything it touched. It killed its priests, its city, and all its wondrous works. But in its final death throes, the god brought one thing back, its favorite child, Sinai. For the 17 years since, Sinai has walked the land like a ghost, unable to die, unable to age, and unable to forget the horrors he's seen. He's run as far as he can from the wreckage of his faith, drowning himself in drink, drugs, and men. But when Sinai wakes up in the bed of one man he should never have slept with, he finds himself on a path straight back into the world of gods and machines. Sounds cool, right? And the cover is beautiful. I mean, look at that. Yeah, I was like so enthused about this novel. So on the cover, at least one version of it, Tamsin Muir, Gideon the Ninth, the book that I love, said this of the book. Giant robots romp around a lush and tactile world of ruined cities and unknowable AI gods, which is all one could ever need. Now, I beg to differ. You also need a comprehensible plot and interesting characters, of which I'm sorry to say this book is kind of lacking. Before I get into kind of why it didn't really work for me, there are some great things about it though. Some scenes do crackle with excitement. The action scenes are fantastic. The concept is also very cool. It's sort of a cyberpunk fantasy. I really enjoyed the multi-POV with unhinged AIs as unreliable or chaotic narrators. Those were really fun. There were things about it that I really liked. I really liked the start of the relationship between the two characters, which I'm going to get into. There were so many things about the first 25% that I was so into, and then it just kind of after that. Anyway, I'll get into it. The novel is absolutely confusing, but not in a good way. I enjoy a complex whirlwind of a story where it feels like I'm missing something, but it all comes together in the end. I love that, actually. Unfortunately, this book doesn't have that one important factor, the kind of missing something that keeps you interested, as you are aware what the book is doing the whole time. It's just hard to follow the trajectory. While I didn't think the book was bad, I don't think any books are bad, except for maybe, I don't know, like Twilight. It might work for some people. I did check Goodreads, though, because I was like, am I just, like, stupid? Because sometimes I wonder that. And no, I share a lot of opinions with people on this one. And that's fine. Sometimes some books are just niche books that only a few people really, really love, and that's perfectly fine. Like, that's cool. I'm just not part of that small minority this time. I guess I just found myself kind of ambivalent towards the book. I kind of had to push myself to pick it up every night. I skimmed a good deal of the last bit. If it were a show, it'd be one that I'd semi-pay attention to while my husband, watched it, and I was playing video games on my other TV. That's kind of like how I would approach this book. Now, I will say, I do understand what the story was doing. It just goes about it in a way that makes it hard to picture why it's done in that particular way. As I said, I was very into the first quarter of the novel, mainly because the story was relatively straightforward at that point, but around 30% I'd periodically snap to when reading, realizing that I had been zoning out and missing stuff. And given I wasn't interested in going back and rereading, I knew the rest of it would be a bit of a slog for me. I just found the novel very passive in how it was written, especially regarding the characters, as they were held at arm's length because we're told a lot of what they are, but we're not exactly shown it. It's frustrating because I enjoyed the serious nerd plus lawbreaker romance dynamic, a kind of like wizard plus rogue if we think about it in terms of fantasy. The problem was Adi and Sinai's love story was all over the place as well. I enjoyed the way their love story began, casual, but they both refused to admit they were more romantically attached than just physically. But once they hooked up again, there was so much we shouldn't date nonsense that it got very frustrating. It felt like an unnecessary struggle that took up a lot of space where it didn't need to be. Well, there were lots of descriptions of specific places or buildings. I didn't really feel like I understood the world and how it functioned. Perhaps it was explained when I was zoning out. That's highly possible, so that was probably on me. The one thing that really held me back from enjoying the novel fully, though, was that it seems like no one could really die, at least the main characters. As such, there is a considerable lack of tension. It's very hard to make the stakes high enough for an unkillable character, and this book just didn't pull it off for me. Unfortunately, this is quite the letdown, as I was approved for this so long ago and assumed I would have loved it. I guess you know what they say about assuming. Thank you to the publisher and Alley, though, for the arc, and I'm sorry I couldn't say more positive things about it. I do hope, though, if this book is intriguing to you, you pick it up and check it out, because, as I said, I bet some people would absolutely go bonkers for this book. It's just, there was no bonking for me.